Hello friends. So I hope you like the previous video where we wrote a custom event and flowed some data along with it. The aim of this video is to get acquainted with custom hooks in React. We will be using a custom hook to repeatedly poll an API, a public person API, and whenever the person's data matches our criteria, we raise a custom event, which any consuming application can catch and then process. In our case, we will be catching them again, of course, in app.jsx and see how custom hooks add flavor to React. So without wasting much time, let's get started. So to recap, the aim of this session would be to write a simple application like this. We would be repeatedly polling an API, which is randomusers.me. It's a public API. We get some data, and if the name starts with A, we broadcast our event with the name, last name, and the image. As you can see, we are randomly calling the API after a delay of, I think, 2 seconds or so, we shall see. So let's go look into the code. For the timing, let's go ahead, create a new custom hook, whose responsibility would be to start polling every 2 seconds. So I'll call it usePerson.jsx. C. And here then I can define, remember, all the side effects in React have to be done through useEffect hook. So we will be writing our interval portion over here, the part of repeatedly calling the API. Let's go ahead, do this. Now, what do I want to do? I want to repeatedly poll that. That means anything that has to be done periodically in JavaScript, you cannot escape the set interval API. You do this, and then I say, please fetch me from a particular URL. Once you do that, then I would get some result back. You convert it to JSON, standard API call. Nothing major, nothing difficult about it. Then I get some result back from there. For the period, let's just log it so that I can see that something is happening or not, and then return it from my promise. Results dot results. It's an array. I will show you in a minute why we are doing it like this, because it's not a simple JSON. So let's do it result dot results. There goes my results, and then I do then let's copy paste part of it, and here voila. Let's hide it for a moment. So what am I saying? Let's take result here. These are my promises, and I'm just taking the values from. So for those who are new to promises, who don't understand the syntax, what I'm doing is, as soon as I get a fetch, I convert it to JSON, and it is this r.json that is going as input to the next then statement, which is over here. So this result is nothing but r.json. Similarly, this result over here is nothing but result.results bracket 0. I get the result, and then I check if my result name is, if it starts with A, then I raise a new event. Pretty straightforward. Nothing new about it. What are the detail? I say first name, last name, and give me the picture. Let's have a quick look at the API. The URL is this. That's my URL. Let's go ahead and open it on the side just to see what is happening there. As you can see, that's my JSON. I have the results and it's an array, and that was the reason I was taking the index in the first index from the JSON which was returned to me. Once I get the results 0, the first entry, that is complete object, and after that is just cakewalk. I have gender, I have name. Within name, I get the first name and location and blah blah blah. I could have even say, put in, rather than saying, okay, don't give me only name starting with A. I could also say, give me a name started with, give me a person whose street starts with something, or city is Newry or Brussels or something. It's just a matter of check. Right. One quick good practice over here is to always use conditional operators, because, for example, if you say, if let's say for some reason you have an entry where first name is not, where name is not actually defined, and then you are trying to access first, then it will crash. So it's always better to do it like this. If it is false, the if statement will not get executed. It's a good it's a good to do feature. Be a good programmers, be a kind programmers. So I think, as usual, I am missing one colon somewhere. Da, 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 da. I always miss these things. Can never get them right. Let's see if it is correct. So better. I think I got all the brackets right. Blah blah blah. Okay. We have a possible suspect now. That's my set interval. The second parameter to set interval is the timeline of after how much in time interval I need to call it. It's in seconds, milliseconds. So I put 2000. One thing I forgot to mention over here is, of course, we need to dispatch. Again, if you're not sure about what dispatch is, what custom events are, please have a look at my previous video. The link is in the description, or also in the playlist. And then over here, I would say dispatch my event, and please do this, right? Fair enough. This should be it. One quick thing we need to be aware of is when the React loads a component, useEffect gets called after it. It's an asynchronous call after, right? And similarly, when you dismount a component, we need to clean this set interval, because remember, it is getting set on the window object, right? So if we do not clean it, the set interval function will always live, and behind the scene it will keep on running, which is not a good thing. And the standard way to do it is to get the variable, store it, returns a handler to that function, and we can store that handle somewhere. And let's call it interval. Rather, let's do it like this. Let's call it let interval is this. All right. We can define it over here. And when return is happening, a return, it's a special construct in React. When the component loads, every time the component loads, React calls the useEffect function, which is this guy. Every time the component dismounts, unloads, React will execute whatever function / code we are writing with the return. And that's here, and it's over here that we will be clearing our handler. So we'll say, okay, just kill this time interval. I do not need it anymore. Do not keep on running it, right? The clear interval, set interval, again, these are plain JavaScript constructs / functions. There is nothing reacty about it. Let's go ahead here. useEffect, for those who are not aware of it, think of it as a function. with some dependencies. So after the component mounts, we can execute some side effects. And then the second parameter over here to the use effect, I can specify how what is the criteria of running these function again and again and again. So for example, um, think about a scenario where a user has to select a drop down value. He select one of the drop down values, and on selection of the drop down value, we need to make a call back to the server, get some data, and bring the data back. And it should keep on happening repeatedly. So that means in this component, I need to execute some logic, some code uh, on the selection of my drop down, right? In this case, what I would do is to put that selection value of my drop down as a dependency. So I'm telling React, hey, React, whenever this value, whatever is over here in this array, it can be multiple values, just execute the whole code again. That's what use a hook is pretty much. It's a reusable part of component. Again, if you're not clear about it, I would love to do a complete series on the hooks. Please do mention it in the description. No, sorry, comments. My wife told me it's not a description, you idiot. It's comments. So please do mention it in the comments and I'll be happy to do it. So for the time being, I do not have any dependencies because my repeated polling is already happening through set interval. So I'll keep it like this. And do I need to use any return statement over here? Because it's a custom hook, so I don't care. It will be like this, and that should be it. Let's see if it compiles. Maybe I need to close it and then do npm start again. If it compiled, there's already half the battle won. Let's looks we are in a bit of a luck. So that's our hook. That's okay. But then again, we need to consume it, and we also need to call this function. So let's go ahead quickly to our app.js. This is old code. Again, it's everything is already on Git. So I can remove this part. We will rewrite it again because this time I need to call not the form, but my use person. So let's import my use person first of all. This is called a custom hook. By the way, I forgot to mention, sorry, every custom hook in React has to start with use, otherwise React will start complaining. And if you do not do that, then you cannot use states and use effects and all those kind of things within your components also. So very important point to remember. What do I want to do? First of all, I would like to basically in the div over here, I would like to print some data, right, regarding the person. So let's call it new person. Or rather, let me copy the thing. Let's go here, paste it. So what am I doing? Standard div, class flex, nothing major about it. I have a person variable, and this is the person which we will get from the event later on. And then I say, just give me a flex start, and then new person, person first name, last name, and person dot picture. And these properties are nothing but what we already are raising in our event over here. You see, detail, first, last, picture. So this whole thing is going to my person object over here. So let's quickly define our person object. It will be coming from use persons. First of all, you need to make a call, that's for sure. We need to store this person again. So let's call use state. So let's call that set use data. I think it was called set person. Let's call it set person. Initial rendering, the object is empty. I do not have anything. Now, again, it's we need to listen to that event, right? So in previous one, we were raising it. In this one, we will listen it. Use effect, voila, effect, the cleanup function. Let's go ahead. It has no dependency again. And in the effect, I'm saying, oh, sorry, copy paste, copy paste, copy. I love copy paste. Copy paste is my life. So I'm saying, okay, add an event listener, start listening to basically this event. And if something called possible suspect comes, which is similar to this one, because we are raising that event here, if something happens, just call my raised event function. So I will go here, define my const raised event. Voila. And I would get my event object here. Pretty straightforward, nothing major. And then all I need to do is to say set person e.details. So that means this object. E is the grand object. It has a lot of properties. One of the properties is our custom data, e.detail. So once I do this, and then I can print it, let's save it and keep our finger crossed. Oh, use state is not defined. Let's go ahead and do it here. Use effect, use state, save. Okay. So pretty good. It doesn't show anything because remember we have a condition. There it goes. We had a condition that only from A, if the username starts with A, it should show. But you can see that the repeated polling is already happening, and we are also downloading the images as and when needed. Cool. All this is happening because of custom events and our custom hook. Another thing which we must be aware of while writing custom event is the parameters. So somehow we can configure these events, custom events which we are raising. So for example, uh, we know that the JavaScript object events, they always bubble up. So that means if an event on click happens on a button, then it goes to the div within which to the parent div and then the parent div and so on and so forth, right? That's called bubbling. So the event goes up and then it comes down. We can control the behavior of our custom events. We can say do not bubble that event. So it should be listenable only to that button component itself, should we want. We can also cancel the event if we want, right? We can configure, these are the parameters which we can give to the to our events, custom events. So to do that, by the way, it as you can already saw it, it's already on Mozilla website. You can have a look at it, but basically it's this. We have the first name, custom event function. The first is the key, the name of the event. Then this is the parameters which we are defining. Over here, along with detail, there is another property called bubble. And then you can set it to true or false. And then there is cancelable. Cancelable is if, let's say, it goes to the parent and parent says, okay, do not propagate it further. I would like to just cancel this event over there. Do we want to do that or not with our events or not? The complete, I would request you to have a look at the complete documentation on the Mozilla website. I'll put the link in my description section. Have a look at it. And there are lots of properties which can be configured based upon what your needs are. So I hope you enjoyed this session. If you liked it, if it added some value, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Please do mention some comments. Your appreciation is greatly valued.